Welcome into episode 163 of The Checklist, brought to you by Secure Mac. I'm Ken Ray.
And I'm August Trometer.
Apple Mail Encryption, now with less encryption. A ransomware refresher, and putting a ring on it revisited. Thank you very much for joining us for this edition of The Checklist, brought to you by Secure Mac. August, people just want so much stuff, you know? Like, apparently, some people have this crazy idea that an encrypted email client should protect email messages by encrypting them.
That's insane.
I know, right? People want everything. It's actually sort of a serious issue. Mac Rumors says IT specialist Bob Gendler has found an issue in the macOS Apple Mail application that leaves parts of encrypted emails unencrypted and readable, provided a few things happen in a few ways. According to Gendler, according to Mac Rumors, the snippets.db database file used by a macOS function that offers up contact suggestions stores encrypted emails in an unencrypted format even when Siri is disabled on the Mac. The piece has Gendler saying, "Let me say that again. The snippets.db database is storing encrypted Apple Mail messages completely, totally, fully unencrypted, readable even with Siri disabled without requiring the private key. Most would assume that disabling Siri would stop macOS from collecting information on the user. This is a big deal." Now help me out. Why would most people assume that disabling Siri would stop the macOS from collecting information on the user?
Well, you know, Siri is sort of the face of your computer, and by disabling it, you make the assumption that it isn't listening or doing anything in the background. Unfortunately, Siri is just another user interface. Your computer still does what it does so that if you do activate Siri, Siri can then do its job.
All right, maybe I'm missing something, because all of this stuff lives on your computer, right? And so whether I have Siri turned on or turned off, I expect my mail messages to be on my computer. What's the part that I'm missing?
Well, it's taking summaries of those mails and putting them in a database so that if you turn Siri on, Siri can then search that database.
Okay. So theoretically, if I say encrypt my mail and I don't have Siri on, the mail should be entirely encrypted. What it's doing is it's leaving it partially unencrypted so that Siri can have a gander if I ever turn Siri on.
Correct.
Okay. Gendler went on to say this is a big deal for governments, corporations, and regular people who use encrypted email and expect the contents to be protected. Secret or top secret information, which was sent encrypted, would be exposed via this process and database, as would trade secrets and proprietary data. Now, I'm with him on the people part and maybe the corporation part, but governments, major corporations, I mean, they shouldn't be using whatever Apple offers out of the box, should they?
Well, it's probably more secure than other computers, but to assume it's bulletproof is just asking for trouble.
Here's the thing. I'm not letting Apple off the hook for this. I just like to think that, you know, governments are taking a bit more care than what you get at Best Buy. Though, saying that out loud, I mean, what I would like to think doesn't matter. People have told me for years. Gendler is right that this is a serious thing. Though, as I said before, it's like, you know, it's a serious thing if this and this and this, then that. According to Mac Rumors, Apple says only parts of some emails are stored. It only affects people using macOS and the Mail app to send encrypted emails, which, I mean, is honestly pretty obvious since that's what we're talking about. People who have File Vault enabled won't be affected. Someone trying to access the info would have to know where in Apple's system to look. And finally, people trying to access the info would have to have physical access to the target machine. I want to double back really quickly to the the likelihood of these various if-thens. It only affects people using macOS and the Apple Mail app to send encrypted email. I mean, is that not something that people do as a rule?
Well, it's not a rule. There are other mail clients, but it's certainly what most people do. And that's the bigger problem.
Okay, people who have File Vault enabled won't be affected. Do we know why? Or why not?
Well, when you enable File Vault, which I strongly recommend, you encrypt your entire hard drive. So even though when logged in, you've got this file, this snippets DB file, if somebody grabs your laptop and can't log in, they'll just see encrypted gobbledygoo. And so all of your files are much safer with File Vault enabled.
Okay, so is it then that this, I'm sorry, is it then that the stuff is still not being stored partially unencrypted? Or is it just, well, it doesn't matter what happens inside your whole encrypted vault because your whole vault's encrypted. So yes, all that stuff's running around inside unprotected, but it's totally protected because nobody can get inside.
It's the latter. It's like if I have a photo that I don't want anyone to see, even though it might be on my desktop, if I've got File Vault enabled, they won't be able to see that photo unless I'm logged in. And That's the important part.
Okay. And then finally, someone trying to access the info would have to know where in Apple's system to look. Is the location of this snippets.db database randomized, or is Apple just saying you'd have to be a knowledgeable bad guy to be able to have this?
Well, it would take a little bit of work, but now that the information is out there, it wouldn't take that much work. In fact, I found the file in less than a minute. It's a SQLite database file, which takes nothing to access unless, of course, File Vault is enabled and you're logged out.
Okay, so the fact that you found it, does that mean it would be in the same place on my machine, or is it randomized machine to machine to machine?
It is not randomized, and I can tell you exactly where it is on your machine.
Don't bother. Because I've got File Vault enabled, actually, so it'll be fine. It's, I'm not worried. The other thing is, it says that people trying to access the info would have to have physical access to the target machine. I'm not sure how that's supposed to make us feel better. I mean, I think we use things like encryption so that if things, including physical things, end up out of our control, we've got this added layer of security. But I mean, if your whole thing is, well, yeah, we've added all these protections, but really just don't lose your computer. Whoever wants to lose their computer? I mean, it feels like that assurance is not as assuring. It's not as much of an assurance, as Apple might hope.
Yeah, I suppose it's better than having that data stored somewhere on the cloud. But seriously, it's sort of like saying your credit card's at risk if somebody steals your wallet. That being said, it's something Apple should be doing better at.
And now, the moment we've all been waiting for, how do we keep from being affected while Apple works on a fix?
Well, number one, turn on File Vault, always. That's the very first thing I do anytime I get a new Mac. And then you can turn off Siri suggestions for mail. You can do this by going to System Preferences. You click Siri, and then click Siri Suggestions and Privacy. Select Mail, and then uncheck the box that says Learn from this app. The problem there is that doesn't get rid of old email snippets. So you have to delete the snippets.db file. To do that in the Finder, go to the folder Library, then Suggestions, and delete any file with the word snippets in the name.
Now, Gendler informed Apple of the issue at the end of July. Apple has said since that it was looking into the issue, though Mac Rumor says the issue persists even through the latest releases of macOS Catalina. The company tells Mac Rumors that the issue will be addressed in a future software update. Is that anything like a good enough response?
I kind of feel like that's me telling my wife, yeah, I'll take care of it tomorrow, and then it just keeps getting punted down the line. If this is an issue that really bothers you, I recommend two things. One, follow the steps that we talked about. And two, make a stink and email Apple about it. The more noise you make, the more they'll listen and the quicker they'll fix this.
Oh, geez, I caught the ransomware, August. I got the ransomware. I mean, I didn't really, but for the sake of this segment, I got the ransomware.
How's your fever?
I don't even want to talk about it. It's just, I need to lay down. We've actually talked about ransomware before you joined this show, actually, but you've been here a while now, which means it's been a while since we've talked about it. For people who are new to the checklist or for people who need a refresher, what is ransomware?
Well, ransomware is a type of malware that actually holds you hostage until you pay up. This could be a threat to publish your data, or more likely, it locks you out of your computer until you pay.
Now, I guess the first thing I have to wonder about is this something for the average John and Jane to worry about, or only something for governments, big business, and Mel Gibson?
At this point, I think it's something for all of us to worry about. We've seen some high-profile cases like the hospital that had their system shut down and was extorted for money. But I do feel like these guys are trying to build a system where they could shut down your personal computer until you paid up. And that's kind of scary.
How does ransomware actually happen? I mean, is it, I mean, like the physical, is it like a bad link? Is it a bad download? Is it social engineering? Is it an inside job? How is it that we end up with ransomware?
I would go with E, any of the above. There are a lot of attack vectors these guys use. Most of the time, it's direct access to the system. But as I said, they're becoming more sophisticated. So there are other ways to try and get the ransomware installed.
Now, the reason I wanted to go ahead and revisit this topic today is because of a ZDNet article that I came across. Experts say don't reboot your computer after you've been infected with ransomware, which is counterintuitive because I thought the way to fix anything on a computer was turn it off and turn it back on again. I feel like decades of experience have lied to me.
There are actually few cases where the reboot technique actually works. It's more of a myth created by tech support so that you feel like you're doing something. But for the most part, it's not as effective as you'd want it to be. In this case, the ransomware needs the reboot to complete its encryption job and to lock you out of your computer. So yes, if you think you have accidentally installed ransomware, do not reboot your computer.
Okay, realistically, though, what's the chance that I'm going to catch a machine being hit by ransomware during the attack?
Very slim, and that's the unfortunate part.
Okay, so let's say that I do actually catch the attack as it's happening. If I'm not supposed to power down, what am I supposed to do?
Well, first, get the computer off your network immediately. Turn off the Wi-Fi, disconnect Ethernet, whatever it takes. If the ransomware is a virus, you don't want it affecting other machines on your network. And you don't want it talking to the outside world either. Once you've done that, reach out to a professional IT support firm. And then try to avoid powering it down because you want to keep your computer's memory intact so the IT firm can make a copy of it.
Okay, it's interesting you say make a copy because one thing I do remember from when Nicholas of Secure Mac, when we were covering this topic, they hammered home about ransomware and the importance of keeping regular backups. Now, I'm assuming that's so you can basically, turn the clock back to before your system was infected and pick up where you were locked out. Is that correct?
Absolutely. I back up 7 ways to Sunday. I use Time Machine, iCloud, Dropbox, and a third-party company called Backblaze. If my laptop accidentally takes a bath or goes over the balcony, I still have all of my data. Plus, because some of those methods are snapshots in time, I can go back to before I had, say, a ransomware problem and just reload all of that data.
So, you said 7 ways to Sunday. What's a good guide for how often backups should be run?
Mine run continuously. But if you can set up a schedule to run it once a day, that's a great start.
And how long should they be kept? If ransomware has been, sitting on my system for a month waiting for an execution order or something like that, my 2 weeks of backup won't be as helpful as I'd like.
Time Machine, for example, keeps those backups until the hard drive is full. So keep them until you have to throw them out. And there are Time Machine settings for that where it will, when it starts to run out of room, it starts getting rid of the oldest copies. For me, that's just good backup strategy in addition to helping protect you against ransomware.
Okay, so let's end where we started. I've been keeping backups. I haven't shut down my computer. I've fallen victim to ransomware. With my backups, can I recover myself, or do I need to seek help from a pro?
Well, if you've got good backups and you know when you were infected, you can do a clean install of the OS. So basically, you're wiping your laptop and starting from scratch, and then you load in your backup data. If you're not confident in doing that, definitely ask for help.
Putting a ring on it revisited. We'll find out what we're talking about in a moment, but first a word about MacScan 3 from Secure Mac. Thanksgiving is coming up. Would you like to spend it enjoying time with family and friends and maybe pie? I mean, enjoying time instead of troubleshooting problems with people's machines. Face it, if you're listening to a show like this, you probably know more about computers than most of your family. That doesn't make you the geek squad. It makes you a guy or gal who just wants to, enjoy your turkey and your pie and watch the game maybe. Here's what we suggest. MacScan 3 from Secure Mac. See, MacScan 3 is a great defense against malicious software attacks aimed at your Mac. MacScan 3 detects and removes Mac malware, catches keyloggers, removes tracking cookies, and provides full range or targeted scanning, all without crowding up your hard drive or slowing down your machine. And your folks will like this. It's developed by Secure Mac, trusted names in computer security and developers of exceptional security software for over 20 years. History, dependability, peace of mind for them, and peace for you. Tell mom and dad, friends, and other family. Let the Mac users in your life know about MacScan 3 from Secure Mac. There's a 30-day free trial waiting for everyone at securemac.com/MacScan. That's MacScan 3 by Secure Mac. 30-day free trials are a safe click away at securemac.com/MacScan. So a couple of months ago, we asked the question, should you put a ring on it? This week, another reason the answer might be no. We asked the question on checklist number 154. Back then, we were talking about the sort of DIY surveillance state that some worry we're building for police departments across the country. This is worrisome to some for a few reasons. Among them, facial recognition software is not great at correctly identifying people of color, and do we really want to help build a DIY surveillance state anyway? Well, there's a more immediate worry around the Ring. A piece from CNET says a software flaw in the Ring video doorbell left the security of the network to which it was tied wide open. Now, when they say wide open, well, it doesn't sound great, but what do they mean exactly?
It means pretty wide open. If a hacker knows what they're doing and sees you installing a Nest, they could actually scrape your username and password to your Wi-Fi network, and then they have access to the entire network, which then also gives them potential access to all of the devices on that network.
Okay, and that's the part I'm assuming that's scary, especially if you're the kind of person who's going to put I'm going to put smart in quotes, a smart, quote-unquote, doorbell on your front door. I mean, the concern is, not to sound dumb, but like, what's the big worry?
Human sacrifice, cats and dogs living together, mass hysteria.
Yeah, well, but what's the downside, August?
Seriously, though, it could be used for a lot of different things, from spying on you and your deliveries and your family to knowing when no one is at home. And worse, as I said, it gives them full access to your Wi-Fi network and all the devices you have on it. So they could be installing malware. They could be spying on those devices. They could be listening to the data that's exchanged. There's a lot of things that you could do just by being on somebody's network.
Now, do we know how they'd have been able to access that information?
It's really funny. When you go to the Ring website, it says that security starts at your door.
And ends there too, apparently.
Because this flaw is because the Wi-Fi login and password that you send to the Ring device is not encrypted. So basically, when you set up your Ring, you type in your username and password for your Wi-Fi network, and that's not encrypted. And anyone listening can basically grab that username and password. This only happens during the setup process, but a bad actor could very easily send an email to you or a message saying that there's an error that requires you to re-enter the Wi-Fi credentials. And you do that, and then if they're listening then, they can grab that information then. So it doesn't even need to be the first time that you set it up.
Okay, that's actually kind of good news, though, right? I mean, the fact that you have to be within a certain time window. It's not like it's just sitting there spewing this information out. I mean, you really have to grab it while it's in motion, I guess would be the way to put it. I mean, again, it's like we said about Apple earlier, though. I mean, there is no reason to let Ring or Amazon off the hook about this. I mean, there's actually a lot that feels even more hinky than that. According to CNET, Bitdefender told Amazon about the issue in June. Amazon released a fix in September. It is now November, and it's only, I guess it was the end of last week that we actually heard about all this. But I mean, even the not telling us, June to September feels like a long time to have something like this out there, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. 3 months is a long time. Hopefully, there's a good chance they wanted to test the heck out of it so they wouldn't be caught looking like dopes again.
For its part, Ring says customer trust is important to us and we take the security of our devices seriously. We rolled out an automatic security update addressing the issue, and it's since been patched. It's good, I guess, that the update is automatic. I mean, at least they're not relying on people to keep up with their updates.
Auto updates, my favorite thing. Well, except for this last round of Apple updates, but that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, I wasn't going to bring that up. And I'm still not for this episode anyway. This is going to sound flip, and I don't mean for it to. Serious question. Do smart locks seem smart to you?
Boy, I love the idea of them. But man, the implementation needs to be so much better. This is Ring's second go-round with a Wi-Fi password vulnerability. The first one was in 2016. Then earlier this year, security researchers showed the ability to hack the Ring in real time and see the video that it was taking. Software will always have bugs, but you'd think they have gotten this right 2 years ago. And as you point out, Ring says customer trust is important, but come on, guys, get it together.
So, Augustrometer, not putting a ring on it right now. Okay. Hey, if you're looking for more security news and how-tos, the place to look is securemac.com/checklist. There you'll find notes for this show, for the last show, for all the shows we've done before and all the shows coming up once we've actually done those shows. And good news, you can listen to all those shows in the exact same place. It's kind of like reading along at securemac.com/checklist. If you have a question you'd like to ask or a topic you'd like to hear us hit, our email address is checklist@securemac.com. The address again is checklist@securemac.com. And if you can't remember that, please do remember this. You're listening to The Checklist, brought to you by Secure Mac. And we'll talk to you next week.